What's up, guys, and welcome to the Wrestling for Life Network, and welcome to the fourth episode of the TNA Impact review. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to unpack. A lot went down with TNA this week. We had 6 matches on this huge TNA Impact card, and we got some news about Jordynne Grace stepping over to WWE as TNA Knockouts World Champion and challenging Roxanne Perez to the NXT Women's Championship. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Again, guys, welcome to the Wrestling for Life Network. And again, like I said, we have a lot to talk about today. We had 6 matches on the card. Not sure how much we're going to dive into this past week's episode of TNA Impact because we do have a lot to cover with Jordynne Grace and a potential WWE partnership. But we will discuss as much as we can today. This is going to be a fun episode discussing the WWE and potential TNA partnership. And this past week's episode of TNA Impact, we will be covering the May 30th edition of TNA Impact. We kick off TNA Impact with Ace Austin versus Chris Bay, and there's been some tension between these guys, but it seems like it was settled this past week on TNA Impact. It was a stellar match between these two. Both of these competitors know each other, so it was going to be counter for counter, counter for counter, and the person that got the right counter at the right time was going to win this match, and that was Chris Bay. Excellent match by these two. It was fun to watch. Can't wait to see if they're going to become a tag team again and go after those TNA World Tag Team Champions, but it's always great to see Ace Austin and Chris Bay in the ring together. TNA didn't waste any time getting to their second match. It was Xia Brookside versus Steph D. Lander. And really, this match was to further the storyline with Steph D. Lander and PCO. PCO actually was under the ring while Steph D. Lander was trying to get a chair, and he interrupted the match. Xia Brookside took advantage and got the pinfall on Steph D. Lander. But after the match, it seemed like PCO is really infatuated with Steph D. Lander. And what did he do? He gave Steph D. Lander a card with a heart drawn on it. So it seems like they're doing something big with PCO and Steph D. Lander. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens as we move towards Against All Odds and as we move towards Slammiversary with these two. I'm not sure what TNA is trying to cook here, but it's very interesting. So we have a backstage segment with AJ Francis and Laredo Kid, and AJ Francis has stated that he wants the Digital Media Championship. So he's coming for that Digital Media Championship next week on TNA Impact, the 20th anniversary of TNA Impact. It will be AJ Francis versus Laredo Kid for the Digital Media Championship. This edition of TNA Impact was match heavy. So we move on to our third match of the night, which was Jonathan Gresham versus Sami Callihan. This was a fun match because Jonathan Gresham is really into this dark character right now. It's some of the best work he has done in his entire career. And Sami Callihan seemed like he wasn't afraid of Jonathan Gresham, but yeah, he was definitely afraid. Even the ref in this match was ordered to wear some mask, and he was ordered to wear gloves to protect himself from the black ink that's been causing Impact wrestlers and causing referees to be sick after being exposed to this black ink. Again, this was a fun match between Sami Callihan and Jonathan Gresham. It was back and forth for a minute, and then it seemed like Sami Callihan had control of the match for almost its entirety, but Jonathan Gresham picked up the win. Sami Callihan was exposed to that black ink, but this was a really fun match. I really enjoyed this match. This probably was my second favorite match of the night on TNA Impact. So I'm guessing the quintessential diva is no longer the quintessential diva, because it seems like Gail Kim in the sit down interview with Giselle Shaw wants Giselle Shaw to move away from that character. She wants Giselle Shaw to dig in deep to see why she came to TNA, why she started in women's wrestling. What was her passion getting into women's wrestling? And Gail Kim wants Giselle Shaw to really dig down deep and find the reason she started wrestling for TNA Impact. Next week, Giselle Shaw makes her in-ring return to TNA. Who will she be facing? I have an idea that it could be Ash by Elegance, but I'm not sure. I'm excited for next week to see Giselle Shaw in the ring once again in TNA Wrestling. I believe this next match would have been my favorite match of the night if it didn't have an interference at the end, but it was Mike Santana versus Steve Macklin, and this was so good. It was just about to hit its height, but this was a really good match. Mike Santana is pretty big, and he just moves so fast and swift in the ring. And then Steve Macklin, hard hitting. I've always said that Steve Macklin gives me Stone Cold vibes, and I've kind of called him the Stone Cold Steve Austin of TNA Wrestling. But this was a great match until the Rascals came out and attacked both of them. But what I'm interested to see now is if Mike Santana and Steve Macklin team up to take on the Rascals. Mike Santana doesn't like Steve Macklin, and Steve Macklin doesn't like Mike Santana. So will they put their differences aside to take on the Rascals? I can't wait to see what happens with this. We got to talk about Mustafa Ali versus Leon Slater. This was a phenomenal match. Putting these two in the ring was the right decision. They delivered on all accounts. Leon Slater is the future of TNA wrestling. I wholeheartedly believe that he is the future of TNA wrestling and the X division, and putting him in the ring this early against Mustafa Ali was the right decision. Leon Slater, he's good. He's in prime position to take TNA to the next level, and he's only 19 years old. This is insane for his career already. But these two put on a phenomenal match. Mustafa Ali won. That was to be suspected, but this was a really fun match. I can't say that enough. Really great showing from Mustafa Ali. Really great showing from Leon Slater. I need these two in the ring again, like next week. Put these two in a match so I can see it again. Before we get to the main event, just want to say that next week is the 20th anniversary of TNA Impact. Jordan Grace will be defending the TNA Knockouts World Championship against Allison Kay. The Digital Media Championship will be on the line. Laredo Kid defending against AJ Francis. Giselle Shaw returns to action next week. There's a lot next week happening on the 20th anniversary of TNA Impact, so make sure you're tuning in next Thursday, 8 p.m. on Access TV and 8:30 on YouTube as an insider. We've made it to the main event of TNA Impact. It was Eddie Edwards versus Joe Hendry and a solid match. This was great. Eddie Edwards showed off his wrestling ability. Joe Hendry showed off his strength. Really solid match between these two. I really enjoyed it. But the kicker was that Joe Hendry won. Like, I know Joe Hendry is over right now, just not in TNA, but really in all professional wrestling. But it seems like those cracks are showing in the system, with the system taking another loss. So I'm interested to see what happens with the system. Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, Moose, as we head towards Against All Odds. We know that Moose will be defending the TNA World Championship against Matt Hardy. The Nemeth brothers will be challenging Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers to the TNA World Tag Team Championships. So we know what's happening at Against All Odds, but with these subtle losses for the system, I feel like cracks are beginning to show. I'm not sure if this is all going to boil over at Slammiversary. Are we going to push this to Bound for Glory? I don't know, but it's very interesting to see. It's very interesting to see that Joe Hendry won on Thursday with clean, basically. Joe Hendry won clean on Thursday. No interferences from the system. So, yeah, I really believe cracks are beginning to show in the system. Before TNA really goes off air, Moose throughout the entirety of the episode has been looking for Matt Hardy. He finally found Matt Hardy at the very end of the episode. They get into a heated brawl, but at the end, Moose got the upper hand and kind of took Broken Matt Hardy out. So will Broken Matt Hardy be able to compete for the TNA World Championship at Against All Odds? We got to watch next week and the week after to find out, because he really took out Broken Matt Hardy. So there could be an injury angle, or he really could be okay to challenge for the TNA World Championship at Against All Odds. So let's get to the big hot topic coming out of this week's TNA, and that is Jordan Grace challenging Roxanne Perez to the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Battleground June 9th. This is huge for not only WWE, but really for TNA, and getting TNA back on the map for professional wrestling. Jordan Grace at this point is a huge star in all of professional wrestling. Just being able to step through that forbidden door, as you want to call it, to go to WWE. This all started earlier this year where she shocked the world and showed up at the Royal Rumble. I was there live at the Royal Rumble. If you've been a part of this channel for, since the Royal Rumble, my reaction to Jordan Grace showing up at the Royal Rumble is on the channel. But Jordan Grace showed up at the Royal Rumble. She had a great showing. She had face-to-faces with Bianca Belair and Naomi. She had a big rivalry as Trinity in TNA, but Jordan Grace is on the map. So this past week on NXT, I don't think anybody really was expecting this. A lot of times in professional wrestling nowadays, social media spoils a lot. This was not spoiled. Jordan Grace came out. I was completely shocked that Jordan Grace showed up on NXT and she made her claim. She basically told Roxanne Perez that you've made a name for yourself in the NXT women's division. I have made a name for myself in TNA and the Knockouts division. We basically are colliding, and I am the one to challenge you for the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Battleground. And not only that, but Jordan Grace will also be wrestling. She will make her in-ring NXT debut next week on that episode of NXT. She will be taking on Stevie Turner. So she's having two matches for WWE over a week span. So next week she faces Stevie Turner on an episode of NXT, and then on Sunday, June 9th, she faces Roxanne Perez and challenging for the NXT Women's Championship. Like I said, this is huge exposure for TNA. And now with this happening, there are rumors that there are other collaborations with WWE and TNA starting to happen as well. I've seen WWE superstars call out TNA wrestlers on Twitter and vice versa. One big one was Moose calling out Drew McIntyre after basically Drew McIntyre posted a picture of him holding the old version of the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and said the doors are open both ways. And Moose basically said, come on in, have your boss call my boss, let's make this happen. You got Tasha Steelz out here saying that she's ran through everybody on Thursday nights, so she's available Monday nights for Raw, Tuesday nights for NXT, and Friday nights for SmackDown. The rosters are really into this as well. You got the New Day basically saying they want the TNA World Tag Team Championships. The rosters are in this as well, and I really love the back and forth between the TNA wrestlers and the WWE wrestlers on social media. Rumors are rumors and speculation is speculation, but they're saying that somebody could show up at Against All Odds June 14th. Against All Odds airs June 14th, and someone from WWE's NXT could be showing up to Against All Odds. Jordan Grace said herself on Busted Open Radio that she will be defending the TNA Knockouts World Championship at Against All Odds in an open challenge. So this really paves the way for somebody from NXT or somebody from the main roster to show up at Against All Odds. And then right after Against All Odds on June 14th is the TNA Impact tapings. So something could really happen there. Someone could really show up there as we march on to Slammiversary. It's been said by Shawn Michaels that there are really some big announcements coming about this collaboration with WWE and TNA. I do not believe this is another one off. We had Jordan Grace earlier this year at the Royal Rumble. We will have Jordan Grace at Battleground. And I feel like we will see some more TNA stars show up on WWE television. And I do feel like we will start seeing WWE stars show up on TNA television. This is the perfect time to be a wrestling fan. There's a lot of tribalism in the wrestling community, but if you enjoy multiple companies like I do, I watch WWE, I watch AEW, I watch TNA, I also watch some indie promotions around in my area. This is the perfect time to really just enjoy professional wrestling as a fan, because we are really in some good months coming ahead. We got, like I said, for TNA, we got Against All Odds, we got Slammiversary. For WWE, we got Clash of the Castle and SummerSlam and Money in the Bank. For AEW, we have Forbidden Door coming up as well. This is the perfect time to be a wrestling fan. The TNA and WWE partnership, it could be something great. And as wrestling fans, we just need to sit back and enjoy the ride. I'm excited for this. As y'all can tell, I'm super excited for this. I'm super excited for Jordan Grace being a part of NXT, being a part of TNA, and showing that TNA is here to stay. I'm super excited for what may come out of this crossover with WWE superstars and TNA superstars. And I hope to see more of the interaction on social media, mainly on Twitter. There have been interactions, but I hope to see this more on social media. All right, guys, we have come to the end of this amazing episode of the TNA Impact review. We covered TNA Impact. We talked about this whole collaboration with WWE and TNA, starting off with Jordan Grace challenging Roxanne Perez to the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Battleground. This was a fun episode today. Thank you for watching. I will return next week. We will be talking about the 20th anniversary of TNA Impact. We will be talking about more potential collaborations with WWE. I'm sure we'll be talking more about Jordan Grace and the social media interactions with WWE superstars and TNA superstars. So tune in next week for more of the TNA Impact review. Like I said, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and continue to watch all our live streams on the channel. We are live almost 7 days a week, covering all aspects of professional wrestling, from Monday Night Raw to Tuesday Night NXT, Dynamite, Impact, Friday Night SmackDown, indie shows. This is the channel that you want to be a part of. Again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode of the TNA Impact review.